SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. From personal banking to growing your business or buying a home, our expert guidance makes it simple. We're more than a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive.
I need more paper.
But now I'm a man.
I don't have nearly enough things in front of me. I've got to work on that. Good morning to you and welcome to Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi. Dave Hughes here. Lance Talbert over in the booth as always. How you doing this morning, sir?
Well, good Friday, brother. Nice to see you. And yeah, you have you remind me of Paul, man. Every morning coming in, he would be throwing paper around, and that was part of the morning ritual. You know, he's sorting through stuff, getting everything in the right order, only to, at the first break, start throwing it every direction because he couldn't find what he was looking for. And,
yes.
And then he would find it. You know, it was always fun, though, because I was like, man, do you not ever use a computer? He's like, well, I use a computer to print stuff. That's what my dad does, man. That's just, it's always so funny.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I've got, on my laptop, I've got 20 tabs open. Yeah, and then now it's built up and I've got all this paper, but I had something for a little bit later in the show that I wanted to have printed out so that I could refer to it because you'll see what I'm talking about when I get there. Weather-wise, it was hot, then it was cold, then it was hot, then winter. It's going to be hot.
Well, it's Mississippi's winter-summer, you know, I mean.
Yes.
We'll get to the end of the winter-summer before too long, and it'll be winter, hopefully. The ryegrass definitely needs some cool air. I don't know about your grass. Everybody's around. People are still watering, you know. So.
Oh, my lawn's dead.
I was watering yesterday, you know. I was like, man, this is like summer, dude. I was out in T-shirt and flip-flops.
And I will say, you know, my lawn is dead, but you know what happens in the spring? It comes right back. I'm not going to spend my time out there with a hose desperately trying to water it to keep it green for another week.
Well, I got ryegrass down, so it'll,
yeah.
It has to have some little love this time of year.
First batch it's getting started. Yeah.
I did it a little early, you know, and it just had kind of melted on me, I would say. It looked beautiful, had that first cold snap, and it come up nice. And then all of a sudden, the yard part, I used some higher end grass, and it was dainty compared to the long blade, what I've been feeding the deer in the back. So that stuff held on. So I just replanted it about 4 or 5 days ago. A little of everything, a little long leaf and a little of the dainty stuff, and it'll be back before you know it.
You know, I think you may have come up with a new slogan for not only Mississippi, but the South in general. Welcome to Mississippi. Your grass will melt in August.
Yeah, it will.
It's not a lie.
Man, I tell you, it melted. I mean, that's the best way I could put it. And but you know, such is life in Mississippi. The humidity. Thank God we really hadn't had that. That's always a nice little break. But this weekend, It's going to be about what we've seen the last couple of days. If we start out over in the Delta, it's going to be sunny. You're going to be around 80 degrees, not a lot of wind tonight. The lows in the night have been nice, though, at 56, mid-50s, so there'll be a little breeze in the evening, and then Saturday back up to around 80, but you'll have about a 20-mile-an-hour gusty breeze blowing through the Delta, and Saturday night it'll be much the same as the night before with that breeze added to it. And then we'll get on over to Meridian, Mississippi, the east side. Areas of fog this morning before 9, so be careful. Otherwise, it's going to be around 80 again. Same conditions as we basically saw in the Delta. A little lower tonight, around 51. Tomorrow, right around 79 or 80 again. Have about a 5 or 10 mile an hour breeze to help cool it off a bit. And then Saturday night, again, about the same, mid-50s, southwest breeze of around 10 miles an hour. So be very pleasant for the weekend, and then open Oxford, Mississippi, where they got somewhat of a football game that they should win right there in front of them. You don't want to be one of those that, the weather's too good and party's too good, but the game is terrible. So you got to pull it all together. Get the trifecta this weekend. The weather's going to be what you would call about perfect if you have perfect weather out there. Sunny, high near 75, light wind tonight, 55.
You talk about that game in Oxford. I don't know if you saw, it is the most expensive college football ticket in America this weekend.
Wow, man. I didn't see that. I haven't looked at those yet since yesterday. I knew the ticket was getting pricey. There were still some fairly cheap ones out there on other games, but yeah, I mean, with all the speculation about Ole Miss making it into the playoff, potentially Lane Kiffin maybe taking another job, then you got Florida, which is always one that seems to be on the list for a Kiffin move. So we'll see how it goes. But, yeah, it'll be a fun weekend. Hopefully we'll play like we did against Citadel, which was just put it on them. But that Florida team's not bad, though. Record's not great. So
they're not having their best year.
No, you guys still got to go play, though, and that's the thing that worries me a little bit. With everything, the stage is set perfectly for one of those upsets. Hopefully it will not be Ole Miss being upset. So, but when you've been an Ole Miss fan for 50 years, you're
waiting.
Yeah, you have a little bit of that, just kind of waiting moment. Yeah, so we'll see. But Oxford will be beautiful this weekend again, and then Saturday night, 58 degrees. So might want to bring a little jacket, a little breeze coming through. Sunday, nothing to worry about. It'll be a nice drive home or a nice day in the yard. And then on the coast, going to, again, have that kind of copy and paste weather we've talked about. Sunny, high near 75. It'll be a little more pleasant during the day. It won't be up to 80. Calm winds tonight, about 54 degrees. And then tomorrow up to 72. So I'd have to say Biloxi area, the coast, is probably going to get the winning award for most perfect Mississippi weather this weekend. So get out and enjoy it. And then Saturday night, again, around 58 degrees and pretty still. Won't be much air coming off of the Gulf. So ought to be a wonderful night to do some night fishing or something like that,
Well, and you refer to the copy and paste weather. Yeah. This forecast is copy and pasted into every day through the end of next week.
I could go into the extended and say the same thing.
Yeah.
I was looking at that yesterday. All over the state, you pretty much have until I would say you got a couple of Fridays to go before we see much of a change. Now, there will be some rain mixed in here over the next couple of weeks, but there's not going to be much of a break there with cooler temps. So, if you've got plants and those things that you've put up, probably good to go on and pull them back out. Is that little cool snap. We won't see anything like that unless the aliens show up and the weather changes dramatically in the next couple of weeks. But until then, it's going to be upper 60s to mid 70s during the day and mid 50s to around 60 at night, pretty much all over the state. So enjoy it.
I'm not putting zero odds on the aliens showing up at this point. It wouldn't even surprise me now.
Yeah, I watched a new documentary last night. It was it was one of the Dark Side of the Moon ones where it was it was this guy had worked at NASA and he had seen the pictures that Lovell and Swigert and those guys, and it went into great detail of like their lives after the being up there in NASA, in outer space. Pretty interesting. It's all that stuff is, speculatory, so to speak, but it's always interesting to hear good old yarn. And maybe there's some truth to some of that. Who knows?
Well, that's the thing. We have spent so much time as a race on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And every generation thinks they have solved all the mysteries. There's nothing left to know. There's nothing left to figure out. We know everything there is to know about everything. And we have an unbroken string of being wrong about that.
We're wrong. The only people that seem to be right all the time are folks that work for Congress when it comes to gambling with their money on the stock market. Those are the ones that they're never wrong. They can show up with basically an old leather bag and some goods in it that they had back when they were, working in this job. And all of a sudden, a year later, they're all millionaires. It's amazing how that works. And maybe,
Well,
But, yeah, those are the ones that actually, they're never wrong, I don't think.
It makes me wonder because, the Pinkerton Detective Agency became so omnipresent, especially back in the 1800s, that became slang for a private detective, a Pinkerton.
Yeah, Pinkerton, yeah.
Well, how long is it before stock traders just become known as Pelosi's?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have to have somebody on the end, You pay somebody to be on her staff, going through her goodies in the garbage can.
Yeah, because
and all of a sudden you're winning all the time.
I don't care if she said she's not running for re-election. She's not going anywhere. This entire generation is immortal.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be there when my great-grandkids are trying to decide which octogenarian they're going to vote for.
Yeah, they'll be clones, potentially. You never know.
Yeah, you joke.
No, I watched something with clones yesterday. I was on one yesterday. I got all my work done, and I was like, this is Thursday. I prepped for the weekend enough and looked into my high school football stuff and kind of ready for the weekend. So I was like, man, splurge a little bit. And then I watched a Leslie Nielsen movie, a couple of them, the 2001 A Space Travesty. And the movie's a travesty, but it's enjoyable. The other one was the Michael Moore one. What is it, the Christmas Carol, where, it takes him around and shows him why he's such an idiot for hating America? That's a good one, yeah.
That's a good movie, actually. It's
really good. Yeah, I mean, I love it. And Leslie's in it. He's in and out of that one. So,
Leslie Nielsen, I miss him so badly.
I love that guy, man.
Do we need him around right now?
Yeah,
but no, it's all it's. We keep losing the wrong ones. I'll just put it like that and move on. We will continue as we try to get our feet underneath us here on Mornings on a Friday morning on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venom.
Grab another cup of coffee and start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Escorting Sally through the alley on this Friday morning edition of Mornings here on SuperTalk, Mississippi, presented by the folks at Community Bank, rooted in our community. CommunityBank.net is where you can go to find out more information. You're off to a strong start with the bumpers today,
one
my
of
friend.
my favorites, too. The lyrics are just the best, too. Sneaking Sally through the alley, you got to keep her out of sight. And then out jumps the wife. So, there's some great lyrics in that song mixed in. And Oberto Palmer puts it together. He can play, man. What amazing.
It reminds me of a song we cannot use as bumper music. Let me tell you that in advance. Buddy of mine in urban radio, Lonnie Mack, heck of a guy, great guy, veteran, fantastic man. Has one that is a favorite he plays all the time. The name of it is Stoop Down Baby. Have you ever heard that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a different time.
We'll
put it
time, like right, yeah. The things in this world used to be more simple.
Yes.
You could joke and have fun and say things and not get canceled, but that's just the way it is. And everything comes in cycles. It'll all work itself out eventually, but not because you sit back and wait for it, and because people try and put forth a better front and move forward. But
I'll tell you, the opening round in the war against cancellation was when Vice President Vance, during the campaign, looked at Margaret Brennan when she asked him one of those leading guilt-inducing questions and said, "I don't really care, Margaret."
Yeah,
that attitude,
I don't know, Margot.
That attitude has continued to spread, and we're getting that from a lot more directions now.
Right. I think
now
you're right.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You said that. Great. I don't care.
I don't
now
care.
What you got?
Let's move on.
And all of a sudden, it loses its power.
Well, on this day in history, there was one of our leaders was elected for the first time to the Speaker of the House, Miss Nancy D'Alessandro. You know who that is?
Nancy D'Alessandro?
That was her married. I mean, that was her maiden name.
Oh, is that Pelosi?
There you go. Her father, Thomas D'Alessandro Jr. He was a politician, and he was a New Deal Democrat. Old girl studied at political science at Trinity College in D.C., graduated with a bachelor's degree in 62. If she doesn't run, which she
is
said
that
she's
1862?
About, yeah.
Okay.
Go back a century, 1700s.
Yeah, got to round down.
We didn't go down to the Dark Ages, but yeah, 5 children, settled in San Francisco, started as a volunteer, kind of got a name as a good fundraiser, in that good old San Francisco area. I wonder how hard that was being a Democrat. But yeah, nonetheless, 40 years, and she will have served twice as Speaker of the House and twice as Minority Leader, and super rich, made a lot of money there, and her husband very rich as well. But just wanted to mention that because on this day, this was the first time she was elected to the Speaker of the House. And,
well, we should all be concerned
first
with
woman to hold that position on either party. Yeah.
We should be concerned about the legacy we leave behind, all of us as human beings. And I feel confident that she can sit there and go, well, I may have made a lot of money through bad means and gotten filthy, stinking rich, but at least I made things worse for everyone. So I've got that going for me. That's got to be her thought process, doesn't it?
I guess. I mean, when you think... I guess when you get to that point and you feel that you are so important in the job that you do, then it gives you some type of functional out. It's like the get out of jail free card you'd get in Monopoly. When you get to that point, I think a lot of those folks have that, and they have that mindset. And whether it's earned or not, or fair, I believe when you are a Pelosi, there's a lot of stuff you get away with that most of us can't. And, it's not fair. Yeah. It's not the way it's supposed to be, but that's the way it is. And she's a great example of that, I think. And even the many people that have tried to, put the pick into that rock and break it open, they haven't. And I don't think you'll ever see anything come of it because she's obviously extremely skilled in her job. And that's one thing you can say about Nancy Pelosi. She had an iron will. She represented the side of her party with the way that she thought she could. She grew up a New Deal Democrat. That's what her father was, and she embodied that and even took it to another level. Whether you like her or not, was an effective leader. And I think that's how she'll be remembered on the Democrat side. I think Republicans will see her in a different light, right? As beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah. Completely different obituary. Yeah, exactly. Probably not a single word in common.
That's kind of where I was leading with that. It's like, think about the different obituaries one day when she does pass. If you had to have 2 written, one written by the party that you represented and the other written by those that you called Nazis and all that. I would be really curious to see how that obituary would go. So, yeah.
It would be a competition to see which one would be longer, I think.
Which one would you laminate and hang in your bathroom? That's the one you want.
One of them is going to have a lot more exclamation marks in it than the other one.
Yeah, there's a few other interesting people that had some significant birthdays and such on this day. Patrick Warburton, 61 years old, funny guy. Seinfeld, he was Putty. He went from mechanic to salesman in the life of the show. Family Guy voice also. Olga Kurylenko.
And also starred as the Tick. Look it up. He starred as the Tick. It was an old Fox show that came out. I think it lasted 1 season, which was about a season and a half too long. But it starred him.
Now, and a lady that I always had a big crush on. And I think one of the first movies she probably appeared in was Pretty Woman, and it's not Julia Roberts who I'm talking about. Laura San Giacomo, 63 years old today, plays in Saving Grace, but she was the sidekick in Pretty Woman. To me, much prettier than Julia Roberts, but, she had a lot of side gigs out there. Very great actress, though. Let's see, B. Sweeney, Hardball, 2.5 Men. Musicians, Blink's Travis, the Crazy Man Barker. He's the drummer, 50 years old. Blink in the one song that they put out, they've made a good living off of that thing.
I bought some nice houses. I'm not going to criticize.
Yeah, I mean, the lead singer, man, became like an alien guy or something. Remember, I mean,
yes, Tom DeLonge.
Yeah, DeLonge. I mean, he got off into that world, but
the To the Stars Academy.
Exactly.
That was the name of his organization.
That's it. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. I mean, that just brought back. I was like, oh my God, yeah. Former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice is 71 years old today. Britain's King Charles III, he's 77 years old. You also have a guy, voice actor, Bill Farmer, 73 years old. Most people would know him as the voice of Disney's Goofy, Pluto, and Horace the Horse Collar. You also have Claude Monet. He was born in 1840 on this day, considered the father of French Impressionist painting. 1926 he passed. My grandmother was an Impressionist, so I grew up with the Monet mindset. It's just a wonderful work. I've always been so impressed with what he did. Kind of a crazy man, too.
To me, Impressionist is very much a binary switch. It's hit or miss. It's either fantastic or it stinks, and I haven't found a middle ground yet.
I think you're right. I mean, it's either really good or you're like, what is that again?
Yeah, the squint, turn your head like an Airedale looking at a zebra. Well, what is that? I've never seen one of those.
Like one of our listeners said a while back, and I've used it a few times, like a cow looks at a new gate.
Yes.
Like, what is that again? Okay.
Yeah, where did that come from?
Why is that here? Well, on this day in 1832, the first streetcar, it was a horse-drawn vehicle called the John Mason. It actually went into service and operation in New York City. The vehicle had room for 30 people in 3 compartments, and the service actually traveled from 4th Avenue between Prince and 14th Streets, and I'm sure there was just a mountain of poop everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, can you imagine the number of horses it had to have to pull that thing? But I guess that was the first bus, if you look at it like that.
Well, technically, yeah, I guess it would have been.
You also had in 1968, Yale University finally decided it was going co-ed. I didn't know that it took them that long. 1968, I guess it was a boys' school up to that point. And in 1974, speaking of the aliens, the first extraterrestrial message was sent from Earth into space. Isn't that the one where it was like they put it on the disc?
Yes, that gold disc on the Voyager.
Yeah, and then they took one of the old crop circles that had like the look of an alien on it and the code on it, and they redid it and made it, so it looked like a man and explained where we were in the universe. I'm like, hey, y'all don't need to be doing that. We're just fine here. We don't need these guys to show up, I don't think. But
well, and I've always been amused by that concept because we received a wireless encrypted email, and we replied by carving out a message on a stone tablet, strapping it on the back of a turtle, and pointing it in hopefully the right direction.
Just throwing it up in the air like it.
We meet you as equals. Oh,
yeah, they're like, these guys, we've got them. We don't have to worry about them too much. But,
hey, come invade here. That was the message.
I don't think I'd have been sending a record out into space going, yeah, come meet us.
Swear. I wonder if the aliens had to put a penny on the arm of their turntable to play that.
Exactly. They probably were, doing a little beatboxing with it. Like,
as you can tell,
scratching.
Already dealing with the important subjects this morning. We'll continue doing that on mornings right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
From the Cerebral, take a deep dive into the news and debates driving the day, all on your ride to work. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. You are having a fantastic Friday morning, and we are glad to go along for the ride with you here on Mornings. Dave Hughes here, Lance over in the booth. Got a busy night tonight, but in a way, not as busy as usual because now we're into the money rounds, so you got less teams, right?
Yes. Oh, goodness. It's so orderly now, and it's, you start out, and the first episode is always like crazy because you hadn't done it in a while, and then you get back in what we're talking about is high school football. There's 4,000 games. They're all over the place. You don't know if this is an exhibition game or a real one that first week or two. But after you get about mid of the season, you start seeing regional play or division play starts picking up. And now everybody's in the playoffs. There's not but 5 teams left that have an undefeated record sprinkled across 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1A. So those teams will play tonight. That will be interesting to watch. And then you have so much parity in 7A. and in 6A as well. So it'll be fun to see how it all shakes down and getting to the end of this. And then MAIS as well will be a full slate. And as weird as that breakdown has been this season, Butch Hammock, my right hand, the Undertaker, so to speak, he's the guy that takes care of MAIS. And I'm so happy to have both Keith Walker and Butch with me because their knowledge is so deep, and they've been doing this 20 years. And then you got newbies like myself and Caleb. So we have a lot of fun, and it's great. So if you're interested in what's going on tonight, 10 to 11:30, we'll cover it all, baby. And it'll be the fastest hour and a half of scores and analysis that you can possibly get because it takes every minute we have to get through it. It's a wonderful treat and an honor to do it. But, man, it's a bit of a challenge to hit them all. Sometimes we'll miss one or two. When there's 200 and something games, but I can assure you we're not going to be missing any of them in the playoff scenario. So,
well, and let me ask you, since you've got your finger right on the pulse of high school football, are we now officially past the point in the season where people are going to throw games to get a better playoff situation?
Yeah, that's thank goodness, right? There's been some ugliness there. Hopefully they'll resolve both on the MAIS and MHSAA side. They're just looking at some of those things that. The cost of unintended consequences. The best thing about all that is being able to adjust when you see that there are issues, and hopefully we'll see some of that resolved for next season.
Well, I'm going to go into the opinion territory here. This is my opinion. If the past is anything to go by, if we're going to use history to judge, the solution to all of these problems is going to be, well, we also now need an 8A designation in the MHSAA and a third state championship at the top level in MAIS because, the last time we had problems, we just kept adding new classifications. Let's just keep going. Eventually we'll have, the 27A state championship.
As big as the big 5 or 4 have gotten in the MAIS side with Prep and Jackson Academy, MRA, and Hartfield. And to some extent, I believe you'll see that St. Joe will also grow into that model. They're the kind of the newbie in, and PCS, who was part of that group last year, left. They're playing in 3A football, public school, and they're in the playoffs in their first year. Mm-hmm. Much of a shout out to PCS, who made that jump from private to public. I personally think they all should. The top division should all play public school ball. Me personally, that's what I believe. I'll get a lot of folks that say, no, they shouldn't do it, but I think you should. Now, the problem with that is that as these academies can likely recruit kids off of the public school teams where the public schools can't really do that. So that's part of your worry. I've talked to coaches about it. I understand some of the worry there. But I do believe it would be a much better product if you saw the top 5 or 6 teams in MAIS playing in, say, 3A, 4A football. It would be very good. And those teams are really good football teams, too. It's not like it was in the 80s and 90s and even 2000s. Those schools have proven, especially MRA, that they can hang with anybody, anywhere, anytime, season after season. Prep is, I'm thinking they're showing that, and Hartfield is doing much the same in JA. They're all three kind of together, but MRA has kind of blazed a pathway for these schools to show them, hey, yeah, we can compete with the biggest schools in any state around us, and they have. So another shout out to MRA for taking on all takers, man. They remind me of that old Southern Miss team. Just come on, we'll play you anywhere, anytime. Old Jeff Bauer days,
Yes, doesn't matter who you are.
No,
come on,
man, they're just,
bring it.
MRA is just such a fun product to watch. West Point is absolutely a dynasty in public school ball. They just continue doing what they do, and they're so much fun to follow. They just beat you to death, man. They run you into the ground, and team after team is coached the same way. And I love these stories, though. They're just fun because they're community based, and they have identity, and there's so much feel to high school sports, especially football. So to have those negative connotations with it, I don't like it. I hope we can figure out how to get that out of the way, because there's just so much good that happens there. And on the other side, thank you to all of the referees and officials that have been part of this all season. I know it is tough. We never have enough, but thank you. You do a yeoman's job, and many folks don't say thank you ever to a referee or an official.
That doesn't mean they don't talk to the officials.
Yeah, I think travel baseball is the worst when they're like 9.
Don't get me started.
But thank you guys. Y'all are worth your weight in gold, and we greatly appreciate. Couldn't do it without you. And I guess that fast forwards us to we have a pretty wild and crazy weekend for football because there's so much riding on almost all these games. Jackson State, they're leading in the East of the SWAC. They're 7-2. They have a good team in Bethune-Cookman. They'll be playing them at home at 12 o'clock lunchtime game. Jackson State really needs to take that one to the house to continue on the run they're having. And man, wow, what even after Dion, man, I mean, they've really just had a great program. Coach there is amazing. So good luck to the Tigers this weekend as they continue on their journey for a championship. Southern Miss, Texas State comes in. Texas State got in a little bit of a brawl with Louisiana. There'll be quite a few guys that were kicked off the team for the game this weekend. Hopefully we won't see any of that going on, but Southern definitely will have a little bit of an advantage with the home field, and also they've been playing really well and didn't get into a knockdown drag-out last weekend. Texas State is, I think it's 6 guys that they will have suspended off of the team, so maybe that'll be helpful for the Eagles. Hopefully they won't need any help, but it's always nice for the other team to be missing a few players here. Southern Miss having a remarkable season. Coach Huff doing a great job. And, again, on that journey for a championship in the Sun Belt, 7-2, first in the Sun Belt on the West. So all they got to do is keep winning, and they will punch that ticket. Pretty good slate there in the SEC this weekend. South Carolina at number 3, Texas A&M. Doubt that there's going to be an upset there, but you never know. I mean, Texas A&M is a heck of a program, undefeated and playing at home. So that's an 11 o'clock breakfast bowl. So wake up and get your cereal ready, and that one will be on for you. Arkansas will travel to LSU, the Battle of the Boot. 11:45. Tickets as low as $6 to get in the door at Tiger Stadium.
Might be overpriced this season.
Yeah, that getting in the door there is always the fun part. Getting out the door, being the team that won, and it wasn't LSU, you better have on another color. So
yeah, and you better be moving quickly.
Get out of there. Tennessee Tech goes on the road to take on Kentucky at 12:30. Not much to really talk about with that one. Kentucky not a good team, and Tennessee Tech an out-of-conference team. Number 11, Oklahoma coming into Alabama, who's number 4, 230. Again, it's showing on the ticket deal. You can get a ticket to that at $41. I don't trust that. I went out and looked at Vivint yesterday, and there were some cheap tickets, but it's hard to believe that you can get into Bryant-Denny for $41. But that's what they're saying. New Mexico State travels to number 23, Tennessee, 3:15. And Florida at number 7, Ole Miss, 6 o'clock ball game. Tickets are up to about $160 or higher. I'm sure that you can pay much more for that. Ole Miss, 11.5-point favorite. Number 10, Texas goes to number 5, Georgia. Probably between Oklahoma and Alabama and Texas and Georgia, probably 2 of the best games of the day to tune in. That's a night game. Cost you a pretty penny to get in that one. UGA, they are favored 6.5 on a 50.5 over. So ought to be a lot of scoring going on there. And then finally, Mississippi State at Missouri. That is at Memorial Stadium in Columbia. Mizzou is a 6.5-point favorite, and another game that should have a little scoring in it with a 51.5-point over or total. And so that's where we stand on the college layout this weekend. Don't know. I haven't heard. We had Dr. Ennis on earlier in the week regarding Delta State. They had the Kentucky State canceled on them.
Yes,
and that
is the most ridiculous thing ever.
Terrible. As he said, we should have won, one of these games in the last to really not put ourselves in this position. But again, on the other side of that, a team canceling out on you after they've been on the schedule, that's chicken. And
yes,
that's chicken stuff. So, and that may affect Delta State's ability to get into the playoffs, which is sad because they've had one heck of a season, lost a couple games late, but that's the way it is. Hopefully, they will be able to continue their season. So
I'm sorry for Kentucky State. That just comes off as extremely gutless.
Hey, that's chicken, man. That's just chicken. We'll call it what it is.
It is. There's no sense in that. So I hope Delta State makes it to the playoffs. I hope they win the national championship. And then I want them to parade it through the state of Kentucky.
Come straight through wherever Kentucky State is. They're the thoroughbred, so it's in the horse country, Go mud up their ryegrass field.
You know what we do with horses that are having problems, right? Just saying. I'm just saying.
Make glue out of them.
Yes. The factory is open and ready for new submissions. Don't push us. When we come
from the Venable Glass.
From Duck Hill to Alligator, Mississippians start their day the right way. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Money. They don't say it enough in that song because that's what we're focused on right now as we give you your update on the Mississippi Lottery. And as usual, number get big. Everyone look. That's the way it works with lotteries. And right now, everyone is looking at the Mega Millions. Drawing tonight, $965 million estimated jackpot. The estimated cash value, $445.3 million. It's the 40th drawing in a row with no winner. That's the longest time.
And think about this, with Mondami and Elizabeth Warren, they're targeting billionaires now. So this is when you need to win this. You want to stay under $1 billion so you're not targeted by Pocahontas and our new Muslim dictator. So just a piece of information for you.
I got news for you. If I win $1 billion, the last place you will ever see me is in New York.
Oh, no, they're not talking about New York exclusively. They're coming after the billionaires everywhere, even though they're millionaires. That's the cutoff.
Well, it's the old rules for thee, not for me thing. It'll be the 8th largest jackpot in Mega Millions history if it's won tonight. As I said, it's the longest jackpot run in the history of Mega Millions. We've never gone 40 drawings before without a winner. So you're in record-breaking territory here in one aspect, definitely. Go grab yourself a ticket. You'll thank me later, hopefully in ways that rustle when you hand them over if you hit that jackpot because I told you to go get a ticket. Now, there are some scratch-offs, the new ones. Got 3 brand new games out there. I was in the store the other night, was going to grab a couple of scratch-offs. One of those new games, the $20 full of 5,000s, they were sold out. They were waiting on more. That one's popular. $5,000 prizes, the top prize. $100,000 for a lot of folks. There's also a $2 Candy Cane Crush scratch-off with the top prize of $500 and a $5 Merry Multiplier scratch-off. Prizes up to $50,000 on that one. You can find out more about all of the games with the Mississippi Lottery at mslottery.com. That's where you can go. It'll tell you everything you need to know. But we kind of have some collated data. I love to give this every Friday. It's the winners yesterday. I always feel the need to stress this isn't this week's winners. This is not the winners for the month of November. This was just yesterday. The people that put extra money in their pocket heading into the holiday season because they bought a ticket. Cash for man in Ridgeland won $2,500. Woman in Hattiesburg won $5 cool grand on a cash for ticket. Cash pop. Here we go again. Players from Starkville, past Christian, Jackson, Ridgeland, and Fulton each won $1,000 on cash pop yesterday. Just yesterday. Match 5, players from Chula, Moorhead, Charleston, Seminary, and Jackson each won $800 on Match 5 tickets yesterday. The Lance Tolbert game. Mega Millions. We did have a Mega Millions winner. It wasn't a big jackpot winner, but a Jackson man won $2,000 on Mega Millions yesterday, and he's not complaining. $20 scratch-offs. As I said, the full of 5,000s had a man that won $5,000. That's kind of what you would expect from a game called Full of 5,000s. Bought his ticket in Ridgeland. And the $20 200X Cash Blitz scratch-off. Woman in Madison won $2,000 on a ticket that she bought in Pearl. The money is flying everywhere, and if none of it is landing on you, you may not have taken the advice to play the Mississippi lottery. That's the only way you can win, and it's going to be sad if you miss that chance to kind of boost yourself just a little bit financially. That's what can happen when you play the Mississippi lottery. But again, that Mega Millions jackpot tonight, they cut off selling tickets no later than 9 o'clock tonight for the 10 o'clock drawing. So you need to
get your stuff.
Yeah, go ahead and put it on your schedule for today sometime. Go ahead, run by there and grab your ticket. And you may be real happy Uncle Dave told you to do that by this time tomorrow. I'm trying to help, Lance.
Hey, I noticed that the match 5 is up to 300,000 and 310. Yeah, it's getting on up there. Somebody's going to pop that baby and be very happy they did.
310. It's not 965 million. And once you have $310,000 in your pocket, you won't care.
No, you have no care in the world, whether it's 100 or 400,000. And that game, to me, I watch it a lot, and it gets up over, in this neighborhood, it starts getting a little ripe for the picking. Not saying it's going to hit tomorrow, but if you're one of those that buys multiple tickets, throw one of those match 5 ones into your basket.
Let me just say, you hand me $310,000, chances are really good I'm going to supersize my value meal.
I want to know who has the naming rights for all these games, too, because they do a really cool job.
They're memorable. Alliteration is awesome. Coming up, we've got Fox News, SuperTalk Mississippi News, and then hour number 2 of...
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Good morning, Mississippi. You're starting your day off right. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Now that I'm starting to learn, I feel I'm growing old, 'cause yesterday's got nothing for me. Oh, pictures that I'll always see. Time just fades the pages in my book of memories. Prayers in my pocket and no hand in destiny.
Welcome back.
Axl Rose. I'm in here. I'm doing the lizard in here, or the snake.
The snake dance. I almost start doing that every time, and then I remember which set of hips I was given at birth, and I don't even try.
You don't have screws in yours yet, huh?
I don't have swivel hinges in my hips.
I have one little piece of info before we get deep into stuff, and I figured you'd like this. This goes along with a little bit of trivia for you as well. So for the Ole Miss versus Florida game this weekend at 6 o'clock, they've got some festivities set up for it. You got pregame activities. They begin at 5:30. It is Senior Appreciation Night. Now, they'll have a laser light show at the pregame, 5:30 on. And then between the first quarter and second quarter, they're going to have a drone show. And then between the third quarter and fourth quarter, they're going to have a Code Red fireworks show. So that led me into I remember I was a student then back in not really. I mean, I'm 93, but when was the first year that Ole Miss, because I remember just having lights was a big deal.
Yes.
Now you got drone shows and fireworks. Hey, daytime fireworks, that was a Pete Boone special. We always loved that. That was an inside joke with Ole Miss for many years. Daytime fireworks, But now you've got all of this stuff. But what was the year Ole Miss got lights? And it's later than you think, man.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it was in the 70s.
No, you're way off, man. Go to the modern era, man. It was basically, it happened in 1990.
Really?
Yeah. I remember going to games as a kid going, they had everything was daytime games. Ole Miss couldn't have a nighttime game at home, so they played in Jackson a lot at Veterans Memorial. And, it was just one of those things. But 1990, and how far have you come now? You have a drone show, between the first and second quarter. And so I thought that was pretty cool. Just
35,
memories.
Just 35 years after they finally got electricity.
That's right. Yeah. It just took a little while. It's like, we don't need those lights up here. We're just going to play in the daytime. Or we'll just go down to Jackson and play where they have those lights. Now you're dropping money like it's nothing. But back then it was an economics thing too,
This hour of mornings, we got to get some business
I'm
in
sorry,
here.
I had to do that, though, yeah.
This hour of mornings brought to you by MWG Employer Services. If you're running a business, it's tough. I'm not breaking any news to you when I say that. If you're struggling with HR benefits and payroll, you are not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services can give you a helping hand. They can provide a full range of employer services and a custom plan that fits you and your business. You can call them today at 601-206-7966 or go to MWGEmployerServices.com to find out more. All right.
Oh, got that.
I'm ready. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah, well, and one of our listeners had pointed out, and I knew this, that Southern Miss actually had lights before both State and Ole Miss. So that ought to.
Well, they're the better school. Okay, and I'm leaving now. Good night, everybody. No, sorry.
All my relatives went to Southern Miss, basically. Other than I had a cousin.
I went to Southern Miss.
Man,
that's why I'm where I'm at. Everybody is continuously on the State versus Ole Miss argument, and I'm sitting over here to the top.
Hey, brother, when we were kids, we had Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Southern fans in our neighborhood, and we all lived on the same street, and all those teams would play each other at Veterans Memorial Stadium. And it was always a race to see who could get home the quickest. If, say, Southern Miss had beaten Ole Miss, then we would go down there and, we'd create a sign or we'd trash something, and hang it over their driveway and everything, just so as they came in, upset that they had lost, that they would be reminded, yes, that, you lost. So it was always this little fun that was had between Southern State and Ole Miss back when they all played. And then that quit for the longest time, and some of those interesting little giggings you could do, they fell by the wayside.
All right, let's kick the top off the fire ant mound here. You and I, we talked about this before we came on the air this morning. The continuing resolution, the end of the federal government shutdown, all of that. What so many people don't realize is there were some things snuck in that nobody knew were there. Mm-hmm. One of them, they had 3 different full funding packages that passed, just regular funding packages to last for the whole year. One of those was for the Department of Agriculture. Snuck into there was the closing of a loophole in the 2018 Farm Bill that has allowed you to be able to go and get THC-infused products everywhere, gummies and drinks and vapes and everything else. They closed that loophole. That's been passed. It's been signed into law. It goes into effect 1 year from the date that it went into law, which was Wednesday night. So next November, all the THC products go away. Couple of things. That's over 300,000 jobs, and that's a $28 billion a year industry. I'm not saying that we should be doing things that are damaging just for the sake of business. Having said that, we sure seem to be selling a lot of tobacco and alcohol still. I'm not sure that argument holds water.
Well, and we got to remember, we just got rid of prohibition here in Mississippi not too terribly long ago. So to be where we are now, where we have legalized, the medicinal side of marijuana, is pretty much earth-shattering, I would think, if you look at Mississippi's history with those types of things. But the only 2 senators that were against the Republicans who voted in favor of removal of this were Paul and Ted Cruz. So you pretty much had lock, stock, and barrel with the Republicans there wanting to close this regulatory loophole that really includes Delta 8 and hemp-derived products and things of that nature to be sold in gas stations and other places like that.
Well, and this, to me, kind of goes hand in hand to a certain extent with the whole ban on disposable vapes. Mm-hmm. I am beyond sick and tired of the same people taking lobbying money and kickbacks to keep the liquor industry going and the tobacco industry going, telling us all the things they're not going to let happen for the children.
It's the kids,
Yes.
I'm mixed. I mean, you passed, and Mitch McConnell was one of the important instruments here in this passing of the 2018 Farm Bill, and he was the champion of legalizing hemp. But now he's soured on it, and he says the loophole that companies use to take legal amounts of THC from hemp and turn it into intoxicating substances is the problem. Well, that was 2018, and now he's had a change of heart. The question is, what changed your heart? Was it lobbying money? Let's audit that and find out. Because, again, I'm not for or against. I'm just curious how the guy that was so instrumental in getting it passed is now the guy that says, no, we got to close all these loopholes that we got.
Well, what I would like to see is consistency. That's all I'm asking. If you're going to make the argument like they did with disposable vapes, like they're doing with this, I have heard several people refer to protecting the children. Got to keep these out of the hands of children. How do you do that with alcohol and tobacco? And why won't those systems work with these products?
Same with voting, right? I mean, you have an ID and you kind of know who you're dealing with.
Yes. You walk into any convenience store and you can find alcohol right there in the cooler. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got signs up. They're supposed to check ID. A lot of places do. Most places do, I feel. But it's still right there and available for sale, but you regulate it to keep it out of the hands of children. That seems to be okay if it's liquor. Mm-hmm. But for anything else, oh my goodness, no, that's not going to do. We must protect the children. Well, I am so sick of everybody leaning on protect the children as their reason for every single decision they make, even if it doesn't match up with any other decisions that they've made.
Well, in that vein of thinking, too, the industry is largely unregulated, as Congress argues, and Congress in 2018 failed to distinguish between the intoxicating type and the non-intoxicating type of hemp products. So they're dumb. Is that what we've got idiots up there in Congress in 2018, but they're real smart now. Is that what happened? I mean, I'm curious because it's the same group of people predominantly that were there that were entirely for this, Republicans included, and now all of a sudden you're not.
And that's the thing. The whole argument is it's a loophole that allows them to sell this unregulated. Mm-hmm. Okay, get up off your behind and regulate it then, like you do everything else.
Right. Were you that dumb back in 2018? We said, let's just do this. It was like NIL and unlimited transfers and everything. It reminds me a little bit of what's going on in college football to some extent. When you put up no guardrails, what do you expect is going to happen?
A lot of cars in the ditch. Yeah. That's what happens every time. I'm just saying, and I am against bans in general, because as you just mentioned, prohibition just ended in Mississippi. How did prohibition turn out? How well did that work? Point to me the ban that has had the intended effect. Looking at you, War on Drugs, how does that work? Results. Let's judge by results, and we don't have a big track record to go by for bans to show that they are the way to move forward, in my opinion. That's what aggravates me about this. Never used a THC product, have no intention to. That's not the point. That's not the point. No, we're gonna continue. Right after this. My blood pressure is already right.
From the Venable Glass.
Want to know what's being said in the halls of the Capitol? You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross continues on Super Talk, Mississippi.
I'm paying for last night's been drowning memories again. I stumbled to the bathroom looking for some aspirin. And an empty box of Kotex reminds me we're through. I'm at the breakfast table trying on solutions.
Welcome back. Super Talk, Mississippi. Mornings presented by Community Bank. A community bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals to achieve their dreams. Now, whether that's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business, we're here for you every step of the way. Dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. Yeah, I'm not going to leave that alone, Lance. From the end of the last segment.
Yeah, we're going to get that boy some gummies, man,
That's the irony of the situation.
And I feel terrible, man. I've had Richard Cross's name up the whole time. I had to change that. So if you saw it, it was definitely
Oh, so his name was up during that rant. Perfect.
It's all his fault, man.
That's my long-standing procedure. You know that. That is my rule that's in place. If I'm getting in trouble, it's Mornings with Richard Cross.
That's right. That's right. You know, so
If we're doing happy,
there.
fun stuff, it's Mornings with Dave Hughes in the chair this morning. Notice that. It's a pattern. It's a very clear pattern. Always blame the guy that didn't show up.
Yeah,
that's the way it works. My problem, again here, twofold. Number one, the whole do it to protect the children thing has become the crutch, has become the go-to excuse to do whatever we want to do. And that goes way back. If I had paid attention to all of the scare messaging in the 80s when I was a teenager about how many people are going to offer me free drugs in my life, by the way, that number still stands at 0 because guess what? They sell that stuff.
They want to get paid.
They're not handing it out. But no, that was that quicksand and knowing how to stop, drop, and roll when you suddenly become on fire. That's the three things that were drilled into our head in the early 80s, and none of them have happened to me or to anybody I know for that matter. So it has been a long-standing pattern of behavior by lawmakers. And what's so funny is we're talking about the early 80s. Some of those lawmakers that were putting that in place then, they're still in Washington now.
Yeah, there's some that are there when I was born, basically. So,
well, I mean, look at it like this. Well, what 40 years ago was what, 1985? How long has Nancy Pelosi been in Congress? 40 years.
Years, yeah.
I'm not exaggerating. Some of those same people are still there. It's no wonder why we keep seeing the same plays being run from the same playbook. But that scaremongering that they continuously use to beat people into submission. Let's look at some of the things that have been banned, made illegal. Same thing, right?
Yeah.
Murder. And thank goodness that we did that all those years ago because nobody's been killed ever since.
That hasn't happened yet, right, since the law passed.
I mentioned the war on drugs. How about stealing? How about fraud and embezzlement and all the other things that are drunk driving is illegal? That slowed up. Doing great. The point is that I'm trying to make, bans are great, but just like with prohibition, they don't ultimately solve whatever problem you're trying to solve with the ban. They never have. And until we get that through our heads, we're just going to keep making the same mistakes in the same ways and then lamenting the fact that we see no difference.
Well, it's like price controls. I mean, anytime you put a price control on something, it's going to go up. You know, I mean, and I'm not saying that you should get rid of the laws for murder and things of that nature, but
no.
Like you said, bans generally don't stop anything. They definitely make it where you can put the magnifying glass on it. So, okay, well, we're going to really focus on this. But has it actually stopped anything? I mean, I think the war on drugs is I mean, how much money have we spent? Trillions, on this war on drugs? And again, I'm not a drug user or something, but what has it done? Do we see any reasonable results that you can point to and say, hey, that's really making a difference? Or did we have a president basically give all the guns that you didn't want in this country to cartels? Because, I mean, when you operate your government like a pendulum clock, when you swing back and forth from one leader to the next, and those policies are so diametrically opposite than the other, what do you think you're really accomplishing? Craziness. Okay, well, and you mentioned it earlier. You just want consistency. That's what most every citizen of this country wants, is consistency. Whether it's your job or what gas prices may be or going to the grocery store or whatever. They just want consistency. That's what you plan for. I spent 16 years trying to nail Jell-O to a wall at a time when inflation was much less. Okay? I can only imagine what financial advisors are sitting there looking at folks who thought they could retire 10 years ago on this amount of money, now are looking at the poorhouse.
Financial
they can't.
advisors need some THC.
I'm telling him. I mean, I had to get out of it. I'm like, I saw what was coming with Obamacare. I mean, that was what did it for me was when your health insurance goes up 400% overnight, I don't know how I can actually help you without taking more risks to get you more money until you work longer, try harder. You're already trying hard enough.
Yes, there's only so hard you can try.
There's only so much you can do. I will make this point until I'm blue in the face. 3 million people in Mississippi outpace the whole country of Ukraine in the GDP. What we produce here, and how many people actually work in Mississippi.
Same thing with England.
So, I mean, we work hard enough here. We try hard enough here. Okay? There should be some benefit to being an American. Not looking back, I should have worked another 15 years.
Yeah. I've still got a pulse. I can still lift my head off the pillow. Got to get to work.
Yeah, now, who's going to hire you when you're 82? What, are you going to go up to Walmart and stand around for $8 an hour? I mean, we just need consistency. That's what we need from our leaders.
Right.
Not a pendulum clock. Wing, wang, wing, wang, back and forth all the time.
This is a great example of that. They're closing the loophole and killing over 300,000 jobs and a $28 billion a year business because it's unregulated. Well, here's a thought. Regulate it. That's what you did with alcohol. That's what you did with tobacco. But it'll never work for this. It'll never work for the disposable vapes. It'll never work for all these other things. No, we can't have that. That's just got to go away. What's that? You no longer have a job? Your business has now collapsed? All that money has left the economy and therefore made everything worse for everybody? Well, who cares? It's for the children.
Well, that and the other side. I mean, when you want to know why, like China and is leading the world in many things that they're doing, it's because they have a 10-year, a 20-year, a 30-year, a 50-year plan, and they stick to it. Our plan is whoever in the heck's in power. That's what we're going to do now. How do you ever get much done positively for the people of this country if you have no idea what the policies are going to be 3 years from now, 4 years from now? How do you plan? You don't. And I'm not saying we should be communist or socialist, but you got to look at certain things and go, there are problems here. Okay? We can't be consistent with anything. We're too worried about black and white and lesbian and tranny and all this stuff. We're not solving problems.
You want me to tell you where I think part of our problem is? And am I about to take some people off? Just fair warning.
Good.
Lance.
It's Friday. Well, you got to next Friday to worry about.
It's Take No Prisoners Friday. I told you last week. Right. That's what it is here on the show. It's Take No Prisoners Friday every time I'm in the chair. So let's go with this one. One of our biggest problems is we spend way too much time worrying about the opinions and attitudes of 80-something-year-olds.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, you're not in touch anymore. You don't know what's going on. You don't know how any of this works at this point. You have no idea how to operate normally in the world you created.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and it's just the reality we live in, right? I mean, if you can have a chance of planning the next day or two, what do people say all the time? I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, nobody really does, but you should know what's going to happen with your money. You should know that it's going to be there, and you're not going to have to go back to work. I mean, those things, it's just reality. When you have $37 trillion in debt, I mean, what are we doing to stop that? That's my question.
Let me ask you this along those lines. Who puts more importance and more effort into planning for the future 20 years from now, a 45-year-old or an 85-year-old? That drives a lot of our decisions right now.
Yes,
look,
sir.
we're back to having the oldest Congress in the history of the United States. All 250 years, we've never had a group of older people deciding how the country works. They don't care what it's going to be like in 20 years. They won't be here.
That's a great point. That's a great point, man.
And that's where we're at. Now I'm going to have a whole bunch of...
Yeah, you good. Well, but, I mean, that's truthful. I mean, when you're that out of touch, you're going to get policies that are out of touch.
If you don't like it, have your grandkid type an email up for you. We will be
on
back.
a typewriter.
Yes. While munching a gummy. We will be back coming up. We have Christopher Green joining us from the Ohio State University right after this on Mornings here on Super.
From the C
with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Get the inside track on Mississippi politics. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
What's a frequency can it is your vintage I was brain and locked out, no, not up to speed. I thought I packed you an idiot street. Tunnel vision from the outside the screen.
Welcome back to Mornings, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net, the place to go to find out more. Dave Hughes here, and we are joined now, and boy, this is one of the best introduction lines I've ever done. He is the Assistant Director of the Chase Center for Civics, Culture, and Society at The Ohio State University. It sounds fancy, Christopher. Christopher Green joins us. How you doing, sir?
Good. It's fancy in certain ways.
Yeah, it sounds like you should, sniff while you're saying it. It's very upper class. Yeah, no, we're giving you full credit here, Christopher. How you been doing, sir?
Doing well. Stuff always happening with the Supreme Court. So always to give my sense of what's up.
Well, and before we get to the case in specific, we're talking about the mail-in ballot case, which the Supreme Court has agreed to hear. Mississippi has, to me anyway, seemed to have an outsized impact on Supreme Court cases that had major ramifications over the last few years. Is that fair?
Well, yeah. So this is one of the good things, I think, about getting a Solicitor General. So when Lynn Fitch came in, I think at the time we were one of only 5 or 6 states that didn't have a Solicitor General, so somebody in charge of their appellate shop. And he came in, and they were thinking right away about, what are we going to do about this challenge to Roe that's coming? And the Attorney General and the Solicitor General on her behalf was really the tip of the spear in terms of doing that work. And this is a little bit different because he's defending a statute that Mississippi passed. But I think this is a cert petition he got granted by the U.S. Supreme Court. So you're always, anytime you see your people getting the Supreme Court to agree, you think they're doing good work. But opinions will differ about exactly how to read this statute, I think.
Now, check me if I'm wrong here, which is always a high probability. But this is regarding a challenge to the 5-day grace period after Election Day to count mail-in ballots, right?
That's right. So it's receiving the ballots.
Okay.
So the idea is, so everybody agrees that it's possible you'll need to recount them past Election Day. But this is the idea that, so we have this statute, the day of election, whether that requires ballots to actually be received by that day. So it's receipt rather than counting. And there's a lot of policy questions and just interpretive questions about how to read. Really, the key word is election. But yeah, so have 3 statutes, one on congressional representatives, one on senators, and one on presidential electors. And so these are in the earlier parts of the U.S. Code, 2 U.S. Code 7. So the Tuesday next after the first Monday in November and every even-numbered year is established as the day for the election in each of the states and territories of the U.S. of representatives and delegates to the Congress commencing on the 3rd day of January next thereafter. So the day of the election. basically the Republican Party of Mississippi and the Libertarian Party, they got together, or they really weren't together, but they were both involved in this lawsuit. And they said the day for the election. What that means is the election officials getting together and having all the ballots there in one place. That's what an election is. The day for the election has to be that Tuesday in November. And giving another 5 days, well, things are coming in through the mail. That's to the extent that there's more gathering. The Republican and Libertarian reading, the party's reading of it is that's allowing the election to go past Election Day.
Well, and you can see.
I could go on about what Scott Stewart and Lynn Fitcher, how they read it, and how I think the Supreme Court's probably going to read it, but.
Well, and that's the thing, and I do want to get to that, but you can see the argument here being made against those statutes that it's kind of clear it's election day, not election week, which has been the argument for a while. How do you see this playing out? What is Mississippi's defense going to be for this 5-day grace period for receipt of ballots?
Yeah, so the idea is the ballots, even in the mail-in voting, they do have to be postmarked by Election Day. So the idea that they read the election as a much more spatially spread out event on that Tuesday. So the idea is if I have a ballot and I write it out, I put it in the mail, that event of me next to my mailbox, together with however many hundreds or thousands of other people doing that same thing, all of that stuff, together with the event happening in the actual ballot box location where everybody's going to their elementary schools and whatnot, that is the election. So it's a kind of weird metaphysical question of whether that spatially extended event happening on that Tuesday, or it could be things are in the mail. There's but it has to happen by then. So you're allowed to vote early. There's no question that's been allowed. But on that day, even if this piece of paper is somewhere in the mail, the argument is the election is happening there. And the state, this is the rule for how you establish a contract sometimes. So if you send somebody an offer, when they send the acceptance in the mail, the contract is being formed at that moment. You have a meeting of the minds, not physically, but you have the person who offered it and the person who's accepting it as they're putting it in the mail. So the argument is that the election, the state's view of the term election is that it's this spatially spread out thing. There's some linguistic evidence going both ways. About half the states, maybe a few fewer, go with how Mississippi does it, but it's a significant number. I think something 15 or 20. So there's a number of states that do it this way. I think the majority go against it. There's some question about whether some other statutes would be struck down. A bunch of questions about military voting. If you're at a military base, is the thing at the military base deemed to be a ballot box so that we could have obviously we have lots of polling locations. Is the military base deemed to be a ballot box, or is when they vote and send it, is that equivalent to putting it in the mail? So there's a bunch of kind of fascinating metaphysical questions about it. Generally speaking, the Supreme Court, when they grant review, they say, hey, we'll hear a case. They're going to do that for two big reasons. One is because there's a split between different court cases below, and the other is because they think the lower court got it wrong. Here, there's not really a clear split. There's no allegation there's a split. Basically, Scott Stewart was coming in and saying, hey, this decision the Fifth Circuit made is wrong. And when they granted cert, so I think this looks like a cert to reverse decision. It looks like the only reason they're looking at it is because they're inclined to disagree with it. That's not to say the briefing itself might not cause them to disagree. There was one amicus brief that came in saying, "Hey, I think you should review this, even though it's correct, because I want it to be. We think it should be established nationwide as the rule." And the policy reasons for worrying about mail-in voting, worrying about shenanigans, about ballot box stuffing. It's much easier to do by mail when you're literally coming in with a stack of papers instead of having to say there's a bunch of people actually in a physical location, all centralized, or at least centralized precinct by precinct. So there is some argument maybe to say this is so important they should grant cert anyway, but it seems like a cert to reverse. So Judge Oldham, who is the federal,
I tell you what, Christopher, we're up against the break. I hate to interrupt you. Can you stick around through the break?
Sure, I can tell you some more.
Fantastic. And hopefully a Time Lord will show up. We need the doctor to explain all the time-space ramifications of Election Day, apparently. Polling place, ballot box, are they the same thing? That's the basic question, the way I'm hearing it anyway. We'll continue talking to Christopher Green at the Ohio State University. You got to emphasize the "the." I understand that. We'll continue with Christopher right after this on Mornings here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I never dreamed that I'd meet somebody like you.
From the Venable Glass.
Mississippi in the know, one morning at a time. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes here. Christopher Green joins us, and we're talking about the Supreme Court case coming up with the state of Mississippi involved. And you mentioned right before the break that this was kind of a hearing to possibly reverse a decision by a lower court. This went all the way to the Fifth Circuit, didn't it? A 3-judge panel ruled on this already, right?
That's right. So Mississippi, we have a lot of our decisions get decided by people from Texas. So somebody actually was running the numbers, and if they had proportional representation on the Court of Appeals, we'd have even fewer Mississippi judges on the court than we do now. Although Louisiana should lose even more. So. You get. This case didn't involve a lot of details about Mississippi law. It was, we had have a statute that's like a bunch of other states. We adopted this rule during COVID, and then they stuck with it. So it's there's not a whole lot of distinctively Mississippi thing, but it is the kind of thing where there's delicate issues about exactly. How difficult it is in different states. Mississippi is a little different in certain ways from Texas. Texas in terms of polling places, you've got some counties in Texas that are bigger than states. So we don't have anything quite like that. But the question of why a lot of what Supreme Court prognosticators are doing is unfortunately trying to get inside the heads of these nine folks and trying to figure out why they're doing it. Here, it really does seem pretty. So you kind of have circuit splits, so where you disagreement among the lower courts, you've got disagreement with the lower courts, and then you've got just really important questions. So if you think this is a really, really important question, where they would be granting review, maybe you could hold out hope that the Fifth Circuit will be upheld. But it looks like a just disagreement with the decision. So the Fifth Circuit, they've had a number of cases they have gotten reviewed at the U.S. Supreme Court. One of the powers you have as a Fifth Circuit judge as a panel of Fifth Circuit judge is to look at something and say, well, this, maybe might not be the clearest thing based on Supreme Court precedent we've got so far, but maybe we should get some more, and maybe we'll set it up in a way that will produce a clearer rule from the folks at the top of this pyramid. So it's a little unclear how much the different judges care about getting reversed at the U.S. Supreme Court. Some of them are really risk averse, and they don't want to ever show up in the headlines. But I think Judge Corey Wilson always had good humor when he was getting his work reviewed, and seemed to view it as part of his job as somebody in federal law middle management is to help the boss know when they gotta write a clear memo. And here, there's a reason to think the Supreme Court's gonna reverse here. But it really is an interesting kind of metaphysical question about the time and space of election. One of the statutes actually is, I think, if you look at it, it's a little, the state's position is a little stranger because the elector, so we don't actually vote for president. We vote for these people who gather in December to vote for president. So 3 U.S. Code Section 1, the key verb is actually appointed. So the electors of president and vice president shall be appointed in each state on election day. So it's not so much that the election is this kind of spatially extended event, but the appointment. So the idea is when somebody is going in and they got this piece of paper and they put it in the mail, and thousands of people in other places are doing that, and a bunch of people are actually in the precinct house or the place where the kind of standard sorts of ballot boxes are. That action is an appointment, and that seems a little weird. I think the textual argument for the Fifth Circuit result is makes a little bit. It kind of grabs you a little bit more for the 3 U.S. Code Section 1, but it's not inevitable, and they certainly could. I think the state will be able to see a path through. Somebody said when you're trying to convince somebody of an argument, you've kind of got distance times resistance. So how far are you trying to go, and how bumpy is that road? And this is seems like a makeable path. It is conceivable this court could say, the rule for presidential electors is different because appointment, it does have to be at a governmental facility other than just a post box, and but the election can be spatially spread out in a different way. But we'll find out. So it'll get heard. They recently said what cases will happen in January. January is going to have a bunch of really fascinating cases.
Well, we're up against the news. We're out of time, Christopher, and I hate it because we could go for another hour at least.
Know where the news is going next. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Whatever brought you and me cannot be forgotten. I have been around the world, looking for that woman who does the can endure. And you know
Welcome back. Mornings on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Dave Hughes here. Southern Cross, written by Stephen Stills.
One of my favorites.
That fact is going to come in handy in a second. Just
good,
stick
good.
around.
I love
for that.
Stephen Stills, man.
A couple of things to get in here. The last hour of Mornings with Richard Cross brought to you by MWG Employer Services. You can call them today at 601-206-7966 or go to mwgemployerservices.com to find out more. Also, coming up in the last segment this hour, we have Dr. Ken Cyree joining us. And then after we get done at 10:06, middays will get started in Oxford at the annual University of Mississippi Banking and Finance Symposium, and the show is going to be there middays today from 10 until 1.
That's like, Gerard would be it's kind of like when a pig gets a brand new trough of food. This is exactly the wheelhouse.
Yeah, this is his area.
Yeah, this is the spot right here, and it's a great symposium. Been going on for years too, man. They pack it out.
Finance Symposium. Over under how many times we hear the term PERS? What do you think?
Oh goodness, yeah. Good question.
Yeah. All right. Back to Southern Cross. The bumper music leading us in. Stephen Stills wrote that. I don't know if you've seen the latest, and we got into this discussion last week. Since then, there's been a new development. There is an AI-generated song that they're misreporting it slightly. The headlines everywhere, to make sure it's sensational enough, say that the number one country song is AI-generated on the Billboard country charts. That's not true as it's stated. It is number one on one chart only. That chart is digital sales. Now, my question is, if you've got something that is selling, people are spending their money or spending their time on it because they like it more than any other song in America, are we really going to start getting into who made it as to whether or not it's worth it? Are we going to start telling people what they can and cannot enjoy based on who made it and how it was made? That just seems a little suspect to me. But I did some research. You're going to love this.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it.
I mentioned that Southern Cross, written by Stephen Stills. Hotel California was written by 3 of the Eagles. Not even the whole band, just 3 of them. Henley and Felder and Fry wrote Hotel California. And that was like a major production at that point. One of the top songs of the last year was a duet song, a high-energy pop song called APT. By the K-pop star Rosé and Bruno Mars. Let me read you some of the lyrics from this song, okay? I got a point. I'm getting there. Just stick with me. I actually went and had to go look them up and print it out. Got to give this the proper gravitas. Kissy face sent to your phone. But I'm trying to kiss your lips for real. Red hearts, that's what I'm on, yeah. Come give me something I can feel. Oh. Mm-hmm. That was written by 10 people.
10 people to get that.
Rosé wrote it. 11 people. Amy Allen, Christopher Brown, Roger Shahid, Omer Fedi, Philip Lawrence, Bruno Mars, Theron Thomas, Henry Walter, Michael Chapman, Nicholas Chen.
And how many words were in those 2 sentences? What, about 50 or so?
Maybe.
Yeah.
So, the more human involvement we have in the arts, that's really working out well. You compare that piece of genius lyricist material to Southern Cross or to Hotel California, or my personal favorite stat, Bohemian Rhapsody, completely written, lyrics and music by Freddie Mercury. Nobody else, one guy. It took 11 people to generate this garbage.
That junk.
So I think it's a little bit disingenuous to start getting upset. Well, that was made by a computer. Well, I've heard what the humans are making, and I'm not impressed. But the problem is, in a world where the music industry hadn't used algorithms and figuring out exactly what to do and how to do it so that they can have a hit, and taken all the creativity out of the human-made musical products, well, there wouldn't be an opening for an AI-generated song to take over.
That's a really good point there. And there was a study done, informal, but I believe this Suno is a music platform that you can create songs, and roughly 55 to 60% of those that they polled could not tell the difference between an AI or a human written song. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously very good at what it does. And like you, the lack of creativity is the opening that's there.
This is an emotional manufactured problem. Let me ask you, the vehicle that you're driving, was it made 100% by humans or were robots involved? And if robots were involved, is it worth less? You can apply that to anything that is created right now that at one point within our lifetimes was made 100% only using human hands. Some of them are now 100% made by automated process.
Well, I love the point you're making because being a Grateful Dead fan, the thing that draws me to their music more than anything is the lyrics, the ballads, the depth that you're getting there. Now, if we fast forward to now, I don't think you're getting that kind of depth. Not to say that people don't have that in them, but for some reason we're not seeing that kind of depth, creativity, imagination, and storytelling as part of the song. So if AI can bring back that type of creativity and humans are not embracing it, I'd love to see the competition there. A week ago when we talked about this, I was a little... Yeah. I'm kind of learning, though, on this that I think you're right, that maybe that instills in mankind the mindset of try harder, work harder, do more.
Well, I have made the point before. I'm going to make it again. Let's go back musically. You go all the way back to the 40s. You had big bands, swing bands, everything. The 50s. Bill Haley, Rock Around the Clock, some of the country classics. It had a musical identity that decade. The 60s, we all know how things went wonky in the 60s, but in a good way. The 70s had a musical identity. The 80s probably had the musical identity. The 90s were the grunge era.
Grunge, yeah.
Starting at 2000 to 2025, 25 years worth, it's all just one big amorphous mass. Why? Because those people that had the creativity, the people that were able to take risks with their art, they are stifled by the music industry. They're not allowed to have the platform and see the growth that it would take to bring their songs to popularity. People making these songs with AI, they don't have anybody to answer to. They make what they like, what they feel, what they think, and then they just put it out there and people can find it.
It's interesting because, the music industry is very top-heavy, very difficult, and I've done enough research and watched enough and learned enough that in many cases, like you said, it's a stifling of creativity because they want to go with what they think the executives believe is going to sell, not testing something in an open market, but let's go with the proven commodity here, and that waters down creativity.
And that's why we keep getting reboot after reboot after reboot of things from the 80s and the 90s, the last time creativity was allowed to actually succeed in the arts in America. And now they're just retreading it. How many things have we seen rebooted? They just announced, I just saw the thing this week, they're doing a reboot of Bewitched.
Yeah. Well, they did a redo with Liam Neeson of Naked Gun, so.
Yes. So everything is the same thing that it was the last time they allowed people to be creative and blaze new trails and create new things. We don't create things anymore that are released to a mass audience.
That movie, too, the remake with Liam Neeson, I had high hopes, but there's like literally one segment in there, the chili dog scene, that was even close to any of the slapstick humor that franchise was known for. It was almost a disservice to put that out there, I thought, other than the chili dog scene, which was perfect.
All I can say is you can have Hotel California and Bohemian Rhapsody and Southern Cross level stuff, or you can have Don't You Want Me Like I Want You, Baby, Don't You Need Me Like I Need You Now, Sleep Tomorrow But Tonight Go Crazy, written by 11 people.
Yeah, I want to buy that. Yeah, I'm in.
That was number one hit. I'm just saying creativity takes many forms, and I think a lot of people are rushing to judgment just because it's the cool thing to do and it's an emotional reaction, and they're not looking at the big problems we have in general.
From the Venable.
No filibuster. Just everything you need to know to start your day smarter. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. If you're looking to manage your personal finances, the banking services at Community Bank make it simple, secure, and tailored to you, because every person and every situation is different. Ready to grow your business? They offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. If you're dreaming of a new home, mortgage specialists are there at Community Bank to make the process seamless for you. All of it designed with you in mind. They're more than just a bank. They're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC, equal housing lender. I do want to put one qualifier on what we were talking about just a moment ago. There is a difference between using AI to, and some people would argue this, and just fun fact, I don't care. There is a difference between using AI to generate and create something versus just stealing Morgan Freeman's voice and using it for whatever you want. That is a completely different case. Those, to me, don't really overlap. And I am 100% on Morgan's side. There are actors, Matthew McConaughey has just signed a deal allowing his voice to be used. That's fine. It's his voice. He can license it to do whatever he wants. That's the point. Nobody licensed it from Morgan. Nobody got his permission. He didn't sign a deal, but they're going to use his voice. No. Now, that is a line too far. That's a step too far. And I agree with Morgan Freeman, our Mississippi native, 1,000,000% on his case and his lawsuits that he's filed. He's exactly right on that. Luckily, Lance, we don't have to worry about that. Nobody cares what we sound like.
I hope not, because stealing my job, that would not be a good idea for me. I'm sure the AI would enjoy it, come out here and get to visit with Mississippi and talk about all the great things. But, yeah, I enjoy it too much. I hope I don't get put out of a job through AI, but,
I don't see how. Somebody has to flip the switches, push the buttons, and move the sliders up and down.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an art form to it. Kind of like economics, It's like when you try to plug AI into economics, it's going to make one decision every time. What's the most affordable, or what's the most profit making, and so you got to be careful with stuff like that. When you get into the arts, though, I'm really like I said, I'm kind of coming around on your way of thinking with. It's almost like the laziness of the industry of entertainment. It needs a challenge, and maybe AI is that which gives it the boost to start creating things again. And I'll go back to the Naked Gun and those, they're just borrowing titles.
Yeah.
Just to sell something. And to me, that's disingenuous. If you can't live up to the franchise or to what it is that you're trying to mimic, then it's a scam, the way I look at it. I mean, you're scamming people out of money. That seems to be all too common today.
Well, and there's another fantastic lesson there. How about you quit mimicking and start creating?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're just borrowing a title and thinking of mimicry, and it's not. It's not even close to mimicking. This stuff's not even. I would say like the Roadhouse, the movie they remade with Jake Gyllenhaal. That is I don't even want to use the words for what that is, but if you use the name Roadhouse and plug that in with the Patrick Swayze one, I mean, what kind of disservice is that to a great movie when you're porking out this garbage?
Have you ever taken a picture and run it through a copy machine, and then you take the copy and you run it through the copy machine, and then you take that copy and run it through the copy machine, and after you do that about 6, 7, 10 times, depending on the complexity of the picture, it's just a blob. It's indistinguishable from, you spilling ink on the paper. That's what happens when you keep retreading the same ideas over and over and over. You're not being creative. You're being mercenary, 100%, just to try to get more dollars.
Thomas is on it. He has been for a few weeks with the HB1 debate, and he
yes, what we're talking about. Thanks for joining the conversation. Appreciate
he says,
that,
I bet HB1s were used to produce the Naked Gun remake. But he's been on one with the HB1 stuff, so probably, there's no telling, because how do we know what's going on out there, really?
Well, I guarantee you the people that are making these decisions that are deciding, well, we need another reboot of Wizard of Oz. We really need to retread something from 100 years ago. Just watched last night, part of it. I was busy. My wife watched the whole thing, and it was very well done. The Guillermo del Toro version of Frankenstein did a good job with it. How many more times do we need to see the same story? It's a great story.
There's 100 Dracula movies, right? I mean, there's 100.
And by the way, just fun fact on the side note, not once did he sparkle. But I'm not starting that argument again. I'm just saying it's not bad, and he did do a great job from everything I saw. It's a very good adaptation of that story. We need to stop doing adaptations and start creating new good stories.
Well, and maybe we can clone Mel Brooks. I'm hoping that a guy like that, we find another Mel Brooks. I mean, I can't tell you how much delight I've had in my life out of the movies that he created, the stars that were in there, and the interviews of him, and and there's so many like that we're losing. We're not replacing those folks, I don't think, and that is sad because a world without Mel Brooks, a world without Blazing Saddles and movies like that. What does that look like? Do you want to live in that world? Because it seems like we're getting close to it.
The problem is anything that's creative, anything that doesn't fit the established norm of what the bosses think is the only way to do this now, never gets a chance. And then we wonder why creativity seems to have died. Well, it wasn't died. It was smothered with a pillow while it was trying to catch a nap.
I was reading something the other day, and probably a couple of weeks ago, regarding this and the creativity and the lack thereof in our society today. And part of it was they dug into the amount of time and effort that people in this country work now versus because you have a husband and a wife, or everyone has to work now to get by. Everybody has to pitch in. 40, 50 years ago, a man or a woman could have earned enough money to pay for a home, a house, a car, a TV, and those things. And that gave time, apparently, for the creativity to foment and actually come to the top. And that was part of this study, was that is part of our problem, that we work too much. We work too hard. Well, and then you go compare that, like I said, just to Mississippi and say Ukraine or Hungary. We have so many people working hard here, and they got so many people over there apparently not working very hard. So it does upset me when we start sending our money, the hard-earned money that you work, and I and every one of you go out and earn every day, it starts getting shipped to people who don't like working very hard. And does that hamstring us in one way or another? I don't mean just financially, but creatively. The ability to think, to be able to have the time to go do these things that you enjoy.
I want to point something out. Whether it be scientific or otherwise, you do realize creativity is a big part of the reason we won World War II.
Yeah.
At one point, we came up with the creative idea of getting the Navajo code talkers
the wind talkers.
Yeah, send messages in Navajo because nobody else could understand it. That was a creative idea. When you squash creativity, you squash the ability to adapt, survive, and thrive.
That's right, and innovate. I mean, and I think that's a great point. World War II, that the innovations and the creativity that came out of that. And it seems like we have a tendency to put it on autopilot at times once we think we have arrived.
Yes, we've never arrived. Anymore. We're never going to arrive.
Yeah. You got to stay hungry.
Every time we were talking back in the 6 o'clock hour about the fact that it's playoff season for high school football, you ask any coach, and I have interviewed a bucket load of coaches in my career. You ask any coach of any sport what happens if their team is winning, and then they start taking it for granted and relax and go, oh, we got this. How does that turn out every single time? That's a coach's worst nightmare. If their team is undefeated and haven't even had really a challenge, and the next game's coming up, you might could lose that one. But now we got this, coach. We ain't worried about this. Well, I'm leaving practice early today. We don't need this. Yeah, that's not a recipe for continued success when you start just coasting like that. And to me, squashing creativity for the sake of profits is coasting in our ability to adapt, survive, and thrive.
So in your way, and before we go to the break, you would say AI may be that instigator to get us off our butts again and doing something a little bit more creative and innovative.
Well, I will say this, we'll never know if we keep reacting to it like hysterical women and crying and moaning to the clouds to get out of our yard. It's here. It ain't going anywhere. Let's see what happens. That's the American spirit, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just that's my opinion on this. Do you like it? Do you don't like it? Well, it doesn't matter. The dog's in your yard. Time to find out if it's friendly, if it knows how to play fetch, or if it's going to bite you on the shin. You don't know that if you cower in the house in fear. We continue on mornings on Take No Prisoners Friday here on Super Talk Mississippi. Keep it here.
From the Seabrook, pour yourself a cup of coffee and get the Magnolia State's most important news of the day. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Mornings, both with and without Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community. CommunityBank.net. Head on over there and you can find out more information. Thomas has been on a tear lately about the H-1B visas. You may have noticed, Lance, because when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And we're talking about AI in the entertainment industry. So obviously that's an H-1B opportunity to jump right in.
But you got to find the room, right?
To me, that kind of weakens the argument about it just a little bit. By the way, fun fact, the numbers came in. October was the worst box office October in 27 years.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I don't remember anything decent even coming out. I watched something the other day, though, regarding, and it was well done, and it was the after the assassination, what was it? Where it's the guy from was Offerman. He plays the part of
Nick
of Taft, I believe, in it. Taft, yeah. But it was really well in a comedic format. Going back and looking at that time, and it was a 3-part deal. And I was like, that's the best thing I've watched in a while. I mean, it was so crisp and well done, and the actors were excellent. The script was, really cool. It's called Death by Lightning. Yeah, very well done. I sent that to you about a week ago.
Yes, you did.
But go compare that to so many other things, and you're like, man, what are we doing?
Most of the things, to be honest.
It's like, wow.
The labor secretary, and you sent me this, and I had seen it. They have around 200 investigations that have already been launched into H-1B visa fraud. The argument, I don't know, I've seen it from some places. The argument is that, well, we just need to do away with that program entirely. If that's the standard we're going to take to decide whether or not we need to end a program, so I assume we're also in support of ending SNAP completely for everybody, no matter what.
Considering that, I just sent you, an update on that one.
Well, yesterday, here in Mississippi, the Mississippi Department of Human Services announced 2 indictments against people who were allegedly defrauding the SNAP program here in Mississippi. So we just need to get rid of it completely, right?
Well, there was 160,000 or so dead people getting benefits, 400 and something thousand that were getting benefits twice. This was nationally, that's one of the things there. And, of course, we're talking about SNAP benefits. That takes away from those that really truly do need that. And, somebody's getting it twice and dead people getting it. You'd think that with technology that wouldn't be that difficult to figure out. Same with the Department of Transportation basically revoking 17,000 illegal driver's licenses for truckers in California. You're telling me there were 17,000 illegals.
Yes.
Driving around, man, with big wheels and, loads back there. And it took the president's Department of Transportation to go into California and say, hey, you can't do this anymore. I mean, how insane is that?
I would argue the draining of the creative spirit of America is part of the problem, because we don't have any will or desire to try creative solutions or to do anything differently or anything new. SNAP benefits, easy. You get your benefits on a card, and it doesn't work unless you also scan your ID when you scan the card. I'm sorry, I have to do that every time I buy a lottery ticket. I'm pretty sure we can pull it off for SNAP too. It's already in place.
I'm really curious, though, in the greater argument regarding SNAP, how many people actually need SNAP in perpetuity? I mean, how many folks are on SNAP benefits that cannot work, or never going to be able to earn, and truly depend on the government to provide that, versus how many are getting it? And
there are some in that first category, definitely. But we don't, I'm sorry, I've made this argument before as well, and I will continue to make it in the future. The case regarding the grace period for balloting. We have a resistance to trying something new when it comes to elections. Online voting.
Again, I've said this for a long time. There has to be a way. If you're telling me that you can create stable currency through the internet, so to speak, that's what we're doing. All your money is housed at a bank where you have access and password protection and all these things. You're telling me we can't vote?
I have an app on my phone. That's how I manage my finances. My check gets deposited. I pay my bills. I can make transfers and everything else on my phone. You are going to tell me the election is more important than whether or not I can pay my bills. Is it connected? Yes. So I think we need to have the same standard of participation for both.
Well, and you've seen those that have hacked into the Diebold and other voting systems.
Yes.
So you're telling me sometimes the reason we vote this way is to protect the voter from fraud. Seems to me like a whole state of California engages in fraud every day. They don't even have voter ID.
Yeah, fraud is
whoever shows up can vote.
That's the default state out there, is fraud. But the point is, we have a resistance to making things more verifiable and more easy to use, I guess, because we have put more importance on politics than we have put on our own money. Mm-hmm. And that's an example of that. Oh, it's not nearly secure enough to use the internet to hold elections.
Right.
We can't do that. That's not secure enough. And this is so critically important. But your money, your paycheck, well, that's okay. You can do that on your phone, on an app. That's no problem. But our elections are important. No. I seem to sense a bit of a disconnect in our focus there. Maybe it's just me.
I'm with you, man. I mean, like, when was the last time you paid your mortgage by writing a check and mailing it in?
I have. We have a checkbook, my wife and I, and anytime
you ordered new checks 7 years ago, and you still have them, right?
Yes. No, that's exactly right. Yeah. 7 years ago, we got a box of new checks. Yeah. We got the first book out. In 7 years, I think we've written like 10 checks total. Yeah. Everything, not per year, total.
Everything is password protected. You get out on the good old World Wide Web. What was that, 1990? You'd think in, 35 years we'd have figured out maybe how to use it best rather than as pornography and entertainment.
By the way, pornography, all sorts of pornography is illegal. That's banned. How's that going?
How's that going? Legal prostitution exists
back to the argument from last hour. But I just feel like we have misplaced priorities in a big way. Everybody wants to scream 24/7, and everybody wants to be focused 100% on politics. to the point to where it is now considered much more important than things like your money, your checking account, your mortgage payment. Oh no, all that's okay online, but voting, oh no, that's serious business. And I think we need
it is
to
serious business. Diebold makes billions of dollars off of you showing up.
I think we need to take a creative approach to re-examining how we do a lot of things and how we apportion importance if we want to progress. Because we seem to have been stuck on a hamster wheel for about, 10, 15, 20 years
now. It seems like it. It really does. And one of our listeners from the 601, he says, if you've ever administered an estate, you find out credit cards know almost immediately when someone has died. Snap just doesn't care to check.
Yes.
There you go. I mean,
that's exactly right.
One president here that's looked into this, and it's been 6-7 months that he's really been in office and doing stuff, and it's taken a little bit of time to figure out that you got around 500,000 or more people getting SNAP benefits that either are dead or getting them twice. You're telling me nobody else could have taken the 10 minutes or hour to run that report and figure it out? Oh, of course they could have.
We are allowing our sense of priorities and importance to be dictated by the people who benefit from it being a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember, it's Take No Prisoners Friday.
Keep it as it is, and don't rock the boat, and everything just continues, merrily along, huh?
Dave don't care
Dave
on
don't
Fridays.
Care.
That's just the way it works. Until we break out of that, and until we get to the point to where we can, I'm asking for the same level of security for my voting, as I have for my banking.
There you go.
I don't think that's a very odd comparison to draw, and if you think it does, I would suggest maybe spend some time, get a nice cup of coffee, go out, sit on the front porch, listen to the squirrels slowly shivering, and think about your priorities and why we consider them to be as they are. Money, and by the way, I've never had a problem with my money. Banking
I had
industry
hundreds
has
of accounts, buddy. Never had a problem there.
Banking industry has this all sorted out. And a great example of this, Dr. Ken Cyree at the Ole Miss School of Business Administration. He is the dean. Midday is going to be up there today for the big event, the symposium. We're going to talk to Dr. Cyree when we come back.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Shaping Mississippi politics each morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
What to do, you're sitting there and you're all alone. You're taking everyone for granted now. You got no place to call your home. You'll open up this cardigan song.
Welcome back. Mornings presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net, the place to go. And I want to tell you, today, Middays is in Oxford, the annual Ole Miss Banking and Finance Symposium. I think for something this important, I have to call it the University of Mississippi, don't I? And we have, they're going to be there for the whole 3 hours of the show today. Big deal. And we have joining us now, he is the Dean of the Ole Miss School of Business Administration, Dr. Ken Cyree, joining us. How you doing, Doc? Good to see you today.
They're going to have to turn the volume on the over there somewhere.
There is a knob somewhere that needs to be twisted.
We will get Alex or Houston on that.
Yeah, they'll get on it. We still can't hear you, Doctor. I am so sorry on that. We got to work out the technical difficulty, and then hopefully we can get it going. This happens sometimes. I think sometimes people don't realize just how complex of an operation this is, and radio in general. You can get 99 of the details right. That last one will burn you sometimes. So that's just the way it works. While they sort that out, let's cut away from them working on the equipment and everything on the video there. And when they get it up and going, hopefully Dr. Cyree will just start talking in my ear and we can cut right back to it. But we'll see what happens here. Got that coming up. And then, of course, next week, Sports Talk is going to be on remote, going to be at Scruggs Farm, Lawn, and Garden in Saltillo on Wednesday, gearing up for Super Santa on Saturday. That's going to be a lot of fun. Did we get it worked out? Dr. Cyree, are you there?
Not getting any volume
no,
again. Yes,
still not getting any audio. So we will, on the bright side, we found this out early. They've got an hour before midday starts to work on it. It's just the way it works sometimes. And did I just hear something? Felt like I heard something. Oh, yeah, I'm hearing something now. Dr. Cyree, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
There we go. We got it worked out. We have a crack team here. How are you doing today, Doc? You're up there at a busy place.
Look, we're doing great. This is what these tech guys do, right? They make it difficult, and then they are the hero right at the end. So that's fantastic. But
sometimes you have to create your own work. That's
right.
The way it works.
We're thankful to have folks that know what's going on for sure. That's great. But we really appreciate you guys having us today, and it'll be a great day for us. We've got an outstanding lineup. We've done this now about 24 years, and it's really just expanded into an excellent program. And we have industry leaders come in and talk about different things. We started off this morning with our breakfast, and then we had Coach Malloy, the men's golf team coach, came in and delivered an amazing message and just did a great job. And we've got Kathy Kreninger coming up here in a moment. She's the Florida banking. But she's kind of akin to, your listeners will know, Gordon Fellows. She's akin to Gordon Fellows, and no coincidence that Florida happens to be our opponent this weekend in football too up here at Ole Miss. So, we use that opportunity to take care of people like that. But we've also got Rebecca Romero-Rainey, who's the CEO and president of the ICBA, which is Independent Community Bankers of America. And we've got several sessions today on AI and bank regulation and stable coins and growth. So there's just a lot of education that takes place here. And that's really what this is about. It's trying to educate our students and our bankers and really the professionals at large that are working this industry. And banks and finance people do a lot for all of us. I'll hear people say sometimes, well, I don't like banks. I say, well, try getting through life with no loans and see how that goes. Nobody likes to pay interest. I get that. But without bankers, life would be pretty tough. Most of our people just do such a great job. And it's just been a wonderful time for me to do this. This is my, I think, 21st or 22nd year that I've been here, and it's been really wonderful.
Let me ask you just very quickly, because we're going to run out of time here, but
sure.
You said I think it's the 24th year, 24 years?
Something like that, yeah, I'd have to look. 24th, exactly.
It has always been the case, but you're talking about some of the new advancements, the various types of cryptocurrency, AI, things like that. Have we seen more change in the banking industry over the last, say, 5 years than most other 5-year periods in the past?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you do have waves of innovation. Early on, ATMs were a big innovation, and that created quite the sea change in the 70s. And then when computers came about, that created a lot of change. But AI is changing the way we all do everything. So it's just been a lot of change, and that makes a day like today even more important for what we can do to try to get people prepared to deliver the products and services that people who need those financial products are ready to engage with and make their lives better.
The annual University of Mississippi Banking and Finance Symposium. Gerard's going to be there middays coming up starting at 10. Going to be there for the full 3 hours. Dr. Cyree, I appreciate your time, and I apologize.
Your home. A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.